Okay, so this is just a brief intro into one of the most illustrious careers ever, right? Listen, most people who I know are going to start to open up to the nature of what I do for a living. One of them is I tap into the nature of souls. I hear the visions. I honor the visions. I unwind the visions on a soul level sometimes for those souls who are coming through trying to convince me that when I hear a tone in my head, right? I make a note of it, a distinction of it, and it's usually meaning that there is something going on that's of a public nature for the most part. I sometimes have my own soul tell me, "Don't go online, Brenda. You might not like the result of it," because it's a scare tactic that I often hear from certain levels of understanding. Those could be family or friends who are on the other side of the veil, who are afraid for my either my safety or that the wisdom that I hold within will somehow affect their own vision here or their family members or whatnot. Because I'm telling you, I was hearing the messages about the whole shooting with the school again. That's not what we're going to talk about, but it's getting stronger and I'm getting more and more detailed information. Now, part of that is also about us being loving and caring and kind when we deliver our messages. And that's the nature. Light workers will say, "We come on strong." That's the nature of where we go, right? How do I do the work without offending the methodologies that many will put forth about their justifications for suicide pacts? Okay. Um, that's the nature of where some people are going to aim their vision at some point because we have people on the line who are saying they're in the vision of, "I'm not going to go through that vision of what that means on a soul level for people to say that they've created suicide pacts on the other side and they're about to pull them out on this vision." Brenda's fighting for the souls of those children on the other side who are saying, "This was one point of exit for my whole soul. I want to come back." So those are those visions of souls that then come back in various forms or as a guide for us to say, we didn't want to die, right? Our parents would deny the vision that I had any death wish. This is going to be a sensitive topic, but we need to start opening up our minds to what the heck's going on and why are so many people in their minds. We're going to say, "Oh, let's look at the statistics about how many people either kill themselves with weapons or kill others. And why are we excusing that behavior as it's okay as long as it doesn't touch our hearts, right? It's too soon to do that vision for some, but I'm getting the visions for it. I'm not going to do it out of respect for families, but I'm telling you, there's another vision of suicide that's going to be of impact coming through for several souls who I hold dear. I know too many people who've been affected by that vision to say that trauma carries through the universe. All of it does, people. Those shootings of those children or any kind of victimization is part of the whole collective vision. Okay. So if I'm getting it, what is it? Is it me just tapping into the nature of negativity? No, we're here to wake up. I embodied my soul. I'm not here just receiving visions for shits and giggles. Okay, this is about the nature of what we hold dear in our heart. What are we placing our focus on, right? So for me, a lot of it can be either historical in nature or the vibration of Jesus. Do you want to know how many people have to fight for that vision to be free from the religious realms because they're basically taking that vision? He was not in religion, he came here with guidance. Okay, that's it. Okay, so people who are saying, "I'm all for gun rights," which is basically saying we at any moment in the mindset of a gun owner know that either one, I am prepared to kill another soul at any moment. That's the energy you vibrate in. If you have it in your possession, you may have it in your house. That's a different, sort of vision. Okay, we're not judging it. Do you want to know what your vibration is when you hold a gun in your hand and you go to the store? How many people want to know what that vision is like? I'm expecting just to go play, target practice with it, right? That's what some people will say. I never intend to hurt people with my weapon. You are placing the energy on destruction of a soul. If you keep it in your possession as a personal protective vision, you have to be in the mindset of, I am willing to kill. That's the nature of it. So many will say, oh, no, 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 no. I have no desires to kill anybody. I will never take another life. That's where that Jesus soul comes in, right? That's part of it. Those are those ideas of I get forgiven. We all do, but it's still that unwinding of that energy of what happens. What am I placing my focus on? Most people don't think, oh, I'm going to have to kill somebody, right? So it's not in your vibration all the time. But if you're walking around with a weapon in your possession, you have to be in the mindset of, I may be killing people. And what that does is it invites more of those opportunities for your exit. Because more often than not, people who carry weapons are the victims of it at some point in time. It's it's like suicidal tendencies. It's not about that. It is an it's like an operational defense mechanism against guns. It's like gun slaves. There are so many people who are so conditioned to be a slave to their weapons that they don't realize they're vibrating in the nature or the energy of it. It's an institutional vision. Some people say, "Oh, you're a crazy lady if you think you're going to go down that path." It's not about saying don't buy a weapon. It's about understanding where you vibrate at when you're carrying it in your purse or on your person. It's known by other souls that you have that vision with you. Be prepared, right? No, it's not saying you're going to attract it. So many people have weapons in their possession and they don't encounter violent tendencies in their neighborhoods or in their places of business or whatnot, because most people don't have that intention of, I'm going to be in a gunfight or I'm going to be, perpetrating a crime. Okay, so a lot of people are like, no, this is for my own peace of mind. Peace of mind is part of it, but it has to be in alignment with that energy of compassion for those who say to themselves, I guess I am expecting a little violence in my life if I'm carrying a weapon around, aren't I? Where do you think it's like your thoughts create your reality, people. Your thoughts create your reality. Now, you have your souls on the line saying, we do a lot of work behind the scenes. This is where the beauty of soul work comes in because it's not saying if you carry a weapon, you're going to be a victim of gun ownership, right? Like gun ownership, like, oh, we're going to sit there and, take the blame for the school shootings. Um, it's not about that. The predictive quality of gun shootings, and it's the children that cry out. We have so many children that are already crying out for their parents, okay, who are still here or on the other side of the veil, wanting to have their messages brought through. Brenda's hearing from one of the victims already, okay? Now, what that does is it sets up it's like the dynamic duo. I have a partner who would say, oh, this is a beautiful expression for love, right? It's not about demonizing weapons of mass destruction, but it's part of it. It's part of the play of illusion that people have that their weapons are somehow innocent. Because there's an energy attachment to each weapon that gets made. It's energy being produced in the name of law enforcement and military often. So this is not about demonizing those souls. It's not about that. It's about what energy do we ride in, right? How many people are like, oh, I ride in my ride with my weapon in the glove compartment in case I come to a situation that's going to make me a victim. You have other options for the most part. Most people have other options that they can choose if they want to go down that path. And some will say, I was saved by my weapon. And that's true. There's plenty of people who will say, I was, using my weapon in self-defense. That's another ticket to another level of vibration of what played out on that level. Okay. So we're going to start taking on those trigger happy people, right? Everyone assumes that the people who are using the weapons are the most, trained, and it's like honored souls. Those are those visions of, law enforcement and military that could come through. They will kick her butt on one level. And she actually unwound twice as many souls in 1 minute when she said, You're an adult. Take ownership of your energy, people. Take ownership. If you want to be one of those people that say, I could go kill somebody in a heartbeat, then you need to own up to that vision, because that's what gets played out on the soul level at some point in time. Not necessarily here, but in another field of vision, because it's being set up for you. The soul visions of Christ will say, I'm going to deny that vision very vehemently. He is not the only soul that you're working with. You don't honor the vision of every soul around you that you create with. This is why his message is going to come through very strong. And when we say his, it's the trio. But in essence, it's still the dynamic duo, because Brenda works with the two energies that make up that vision. The third is on its way. Okay. She hears from Jesus all the time because she's so violent in her methodology, right? Not even close. She's always asking for the highest level of vision for all of us here. We're all here learning and experiencing the love of life. And when we take it, what does that do for those other souls, right? This is where the nature of other material come in and say we had a pact or there was a contract. So Brenda was denying the vision for not only for herself, but for all others. Do you know what that does to her? She's all, I'll take the beating for you. I'll unwind the visions as they come through, which means that's why she does it. She hears from the souls of souls and from other souls who will say, I'm here to do, it's like demolition derby cars. That's one method of destruction for weapons of mass destruction, right? The cars. Everyone's going to use the vision of, oh, well, a car is a weapon. It can be used as such, but the intention and the energy behind a vehicle has never, ever been, unless you go to military vehicles of destruction, the energy of that vehicle is not of, I'm here to kill. We got to get people on the mode of what the intention and the energy of an item or items are. Okay. Or my own vision. Okay. This is how people start to rise in the spiritual enlightenment, movement, because they realize they're working with energy and their thoughts. They know that. And they know they're creating with everyone around them, not just some man in a in a plane up above. That's the strength of soul that she works with. Often she denies his vision as the highest of high, though. Do you know why? Because she places every single one of you right there with them. You all can get your own understanding of any soul vision, and you're going to see it. And you can say, well, that vision is of the highest that you know of. How many people on the spiritual enlightenment know that they're talking to light beings and that we're never here, but still guide us in a universal wisdom of love? Now, if you're fearful of universal vision because you are conditioned to think that those souls on the other side of the plane are going to deny, they're going to deny that her vision is universal. Jesus, in essence, is of universal wisdom. but he's not the whole enchilada. And you can't even imagine what people start to think. Of course, he's only part of the picture, right? You have more influence with your family, friends, and environment in your communities here than you do on the other side of the. Some people will deny that vision because they walk with it. If you know how to do soul embodiment, you know how to walk with Christ. If you can do that vision of, I can feel, hear, and see the vision of Christ before me. Okay. Most people don't vibrate in that vision when they're going to work. Okay. I feel the vision of my soul always. My soul. So some people say, your soul's not high. Oh, you mean because I'm not sitting back and just watching everyone die? Think carefully about your vision of who Jesus was. I'm not claiming to be that kind of soul, but by golly, I want people to get through that vision of, I'm a victim. And so I'm going to sit there and tell people, right? That's me. I'm a victim, right? I heard the shootings, right? I take it in and I hold it close to my heart. So when people say, oh, this is just another bullshit video about gun control, no, it's not. It's not about gun control. It's about realizing where we're creating from. Everyone has these different ideas about their vibration and where they operate. I do soul sessions with people and I tell you where you operate. I let you know who's doing the work with you and what a better place for you might be if it's needed. It could be everything's fine and dandy in your vibration and you feel beautiful and honored and you are vibrating in the beauty of who you are. This is who we all are, believe it or not. So I could give you that loving, caring, inspiring video about the nature of forgiveness, compassion, adjust our energy, and you get it. That's the nature of it. But for those of you who think that no one here is ever going to change their view about guns, you've got another thing coming to you. This is the rising tide of awareness, my friends. Everyone in those camps know for a fact that there are people in the religious realms who are hiding the information that shows people how to rise above the vision of, I'm just an innocent here playing out the game of life. That's who you are. You are the innocence of love here, creating beauty for all of us. So it's never looked at as bad or good from a soul level. It's always understood as, we're expanding the vision of the universe, right? It's consciousness unwound. Some people say, no, I'm not going to go down that place. I just want to be in the heavenly realms. That's part of consciousness, people. You're creating the heavenly realms as you go. So it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just all there for us to look at and see. What does this show me about who I am? I say I'm here to help unwind the visions. That's the nature of where I rise. We unwind ourselves and those around us, right? It's not about judgment. Judgment's part of it always. But in essence, Brenda knows better because she knows that I can do a vision for my aunt or any of my family members, right? I do it with anybody. Go find anyone that knows how to bring through the vision of strangers that can tell you where you need to walk to meet your next love of your life, for instance. That's how detailed mine is. Where can you go to dinner without the fear of COVID coming into your vibration? Where can you go in 2 or 3 years that's going to get you onto a better place? If I should have planned a different place to travel to instead of the one that's now being canceled out due to COVID. I've done those visions for people that far in advance. It goes even further. Okay. Now, this may sound like it's an angry video. It's not. It's the intensity of it. I could go to the vision of, I love who I am and I love you all for participating in the vision that you rise with me. People are going to assume it's a negative vision against anyone of religion. Do you know how many people in the spiritual paradigms are in contact with Jesus or the Christ soul and they don't say anything because they know that what happens is it starts to get affiliated with this vision of Christ as a savior of all. And they're like, we know we do our own work here. We don't need to be saved. Um, and that's the beauty of it. Okay. So, for those of you, it's still a beautiful vision. And if you feel like you need that loving, caring, adoring energy of Christ or Jesus, it depends on which vision you create with. Christ is a much different vision than just one man. Okay. And they should know that by now if they're in that church vision. Okay. And the nature of those souls are going to come through strong. She's been hearing from some of the strongest, the strongest friars. They were friars who messed up. So many people are complaining about what's in the Bible and how it's been transformed into something that's not good. Brenda will lay it out on the line in one simple sentence. Once something has hatred for one group, it is not of the highest vision. You can't take out a vision of any soul and any tool and then say it's of the highest. It's part of the vision of all, but it's not of the highest. That's how strong it is. And people here were the ones that took out those visions of hatred and put it into those books. So that's why people are making the distinguishing, marks in the Bibles about what Jesus would have said versus what others here had others write or what other guides brought through. You see, we all do have our filters of love. It's all love, but in essence, don't expect to hear any Bible verses coming out of Brenda. She could bring them through in a heartbeat. But what it will do is it will reinforce the vision that somehow that tool is the only one to use. It is for certain people, but let's just put it this way. Do you know how many Bible versions there are? We need to think about how many people know that the words of pedophile and homosexual were changed recently, just in the last century. It's a hidden agenda placed in the hands of God. So now that those visions of love are released, how many people are going to say, I'm going to open my hearts and minds to those who claim to be of homosexuality since it's no longer deemed of the highest because it was written here in our plane not that long ago? Who wants to sit there and start living their lives according to the men of the, you know, 20th century and what they had going on in their minds, right? We could look to the authors of the world and get a more illustrious beauty brought through when it comes to love. Because once those books got into the hands of humans, that's when things got a little convoluted and distorted. And that's why Brenda will never use those books as her guide. Well, now she's with hers, with her soul and with the souls of others. The victim is screaming to be read at some point, and she's like, out of respect for the families that are in grief mode for it and our own heart, she cries for these souls, and they are lifted very high, very fast. But her heart goes out to all of us here because she's had her own ideas about the trauma of gunshots. It's rung through her mind so many times. And honestly, if you start hearing the school children, just like with climate change, we had to come in and help people get out of that mindset that the children need to be looking forward to the future. And if everyone is looking to get shot in the classrooms, what does that say to us? It means we're going to have to do some work as adults. We need to start thinking about the energy we're creating for our children and what they create. I'm in a state of fear, right? A lot of kids will move on out of that vibration gently. It sticks with them. Think about the veterans who are saying they're of PTSD and how long that lasts for them. Okay? This isn't just at school, it carries weight around the world. But in essence, it's mostly here in this country. Okay? So, I would never label anyone with a disorder, but that's the nature of what those soldiers are going to come through and say, we're expecting our kids to, you know, travel through the world with these kinds of, and there are many children that are because they're in the war zones. That's where our schools are starting to look like, right? Not even close. There's no comparison to the beautiful children all around the world that are actually in the war zones. But we do create an impact here when we say to our children, we need to take these drills every so often to make sure it has its mark on the psyche, actually. It leaves its mark when we have to keep repeating drills of destruction in our minds. Okay. And there's a reason that that's going on. Brenda will tap into it at some point. She's not going to do it today because she's got the higher level wisdom. But for those of you who say, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what this is going to be like for her. I'm not afraid of those souls who are so attached to the idea that we can't even have a discussion about the energy of what's going on versus they're already on the defensive about their ideas about what we're saying. They won't watch because they're so conditioned to hear this phrase, you're going to take my gun. And we're just saying, what gun and what are you doing with it? Right? It's the kind of gun, or like, what are you planning to do with that weapon? This is how she has to live her life with the understanding that anything that comes through for someone else always vibrates within her first. So she's like, I have to take away my own personal agenda in order to bring through the guidance for those that I don't even like. Own it, people. Own it. Own your idea of I'm a victim of fear and I need a weapon. And it could be for good cause, right? We have a lot of reasons people own weapons. It's not about that. But we have to think about what kind of weapons, and people will use those ideas about, well, we can make a weapon out of anything. Do you want to know what Einstein said about his participation in the nuclear vision? Come on, people. Stop making excuses by trying to find outlets of exception. That's all that is. I'm going to try and pull out an exception that makes it okay for all of us to carry weapons of mass destruction in our pockets. We'll choose wisely next time, right? How many people say she's going to land blast the souls of Republican? It has zero to do with a party. I know so many people who are not in the method of, party, but they have weapons, right? That's what we're saying. It's not about gun ownership. It's about the energy behind it. Now, if you wanted an individual understanding about, well, where do I reside in my energy with my weapon? I could give you that one as well. But that's a personal thing. And so it's not a belittling of the weaponry. They were here for a reason. They were here for a reason. That should tell you something. I vibrate out of weaponry of mass destruction in another realm with another person that I love. That means that once we go to the other side, others will say they carry those weapons with them in the mindset and remember the destruction of it. You unwind the vision of my body is in survival mode. That's what that says. If you're in it to win it, you're afraid for your survival. And that is a natural tendency to be in that place of fear of death. And yet, in your mind, you're creating the situations already because you're planting the seed that in the future I may need to kill somebody or I will be killed or maimed or hurt or whatever. But usually, if you're wanting to kill somebody, it's that life or death kind of vision, or potentially, just rape. Okay. It doesn't work that way. It's not always about that. Because we have our higher visions that we often reinforce. I'm of peace, I'm of love, I love all. That's where church and those visions of, love for everybody are very strong. They hold you in a higher vibration when you're there. But where are you when you leave the building? And now we see the buildings are very much starting to open up to the nature of we're just going to let loose on others. Okay, keep Jesus in your hearts and minds and let go of the anger for other ideas. That's the wisdom of the day. Keep Jesus, if that's your vision of high, keep that vision in your mind when you're walking among the people and ask yourself the question, what would Jesus say to me in this moment when I'm doing what I'm doing? When I'm saying what I'm saying? I get my heart handed to me by my own soul, and it is, but it's a compassionate, loving, caring soul. Okay, I have more than one soul who rides that plane of love with me. Okay, so in an effort to reduce the amount of tears that I cry, I say to myself, I'm here to make a change and let people know. I can go to that vision of let's just reinforce love night and day. But that's not going to bring about the change that needs to happen. If we're not going to show people what's possible with our love when we embody our own soul and we rise to another level of understanding. Okay, the predictive qualities of visionaries means that there's going to be a new vision brought through in the future. Brenda's riding the rails of love with someone who also understands that vision and knows that that vision is on its way. Okay, those souls that know how to do the work to create the change that we're going to see here in this plane, and to do so from a place of love and honor. It's a whole new way of being. You can't ride the rails of love if you're always talking about the death of love. Okay, so this is where you have to learn how to remember to bring our hearts into the moment when we're out and about. So, for instance, here's a good thing. So, when I was out and about doing my business at the bank, and I get told which souls are working with me from celebrities as well, from different planes of understanding, and they know who I am in my heart and that I'm here to make a change. But it's a gradual change of love from one of I love you, but I don't like you to I love you, I'm going to save you, right? That's where Jesus, I'm going to save you. It's literally about trying to, it's like the collective vision of love is where we operate. And so you have to vibrate in the vision of I am of all. So why am I treating people like I am? Because that's who I am. And Brenda gets her heart handed to her sometimes because she does. She has those, we call them inflamed moments. And she was pissed. She was sad as when she heard the news. And then she got pissed for several reasons. One, she's like, I didn't ask the questions that should have been asked. And two, I'm mad as hell as an adult, that we are not taking the vibration of our children into account as more important than the weapons and the energy behind that. We're placing higher importance on the energy of a weapon of destruction. Not all weapons, not all. I can go through knives, I can go through the bullets, I can go through all that stuff that people are going to try. But there literally is, we have to think about what the energy creation is on a soul level. Others will say, I'm going to go to God. That's another vision. Fine. Create with that. We're all there in that vision with you. So there's no higher vision. That's basically, you know, others are placing their vision on someone else, not realizing that that's actually who they are from another plane of understanding. So they're giving up their power of creation. Their souls got them taken care of very, very well. Okay. So the all that is, that's one aspect of who we are. The vibration of Jesus is twice as strong because he gets all the analysis in the churches, right? It depends on where you operate from. So, with that in mind, I'm going to say thank you. If you're joining me, yes, I was going to say God bless you for listening to this, right? It should show you what plane of vision you might be operating on. So, for me, when I go through and I say I'm going to bring through a victim, they don't align with the idea of they're still healing their hearts on the other side. That's why I'm not in that ability to bring that through, because I would still be feeling their vibration as a channel. And so I got to give myself time to heal from my own mindset of victim of this plane and my own mind before I bring through that energy, because I do. It's just like when I try to bring through energy with my own family that have crossed over to the other side, it affects me in my mind and my heart. And I love them and they try to create love with me, but I'm still in the idea of like, I just need a break from my family tree. Okay? My family tree is here to apologize to all of us for all the destruction that they did from any plane of understanding. We all do the destructive visions in our minds and we create the beauty as well. We're in a good place here. We're not going to say it's bad, but others are definitely overblowing the situation about their rights and what's actually happening. It starts to unwind itself at some point as more and more of those vibratory beings come through. They'll start to unwind the vision for many around them because they show them their gifts and they say, now tell me that I'm crazy or whatnot. A lot of people are going to be getting that. Okay, so there's some of those youngsters that are already starting to open up, and it can be a destructive vision. And if they're in that vision of, I can't hold a high vibration, then the negativity will come in. And that's kind of those visions of what I'm surrounded with. Think carefully who you are and what you are telling your children. As they start to open up, can they handle the vibration of yours and the words? And it's like the visions that you hold for them. As parents, we hold our children in the highest, right? Then we are going to start to change the energy that we operate out of. I'm going to enforce beauty of love for the family tree only, versus I'm going to enforce, right? This is an enforcement energy. I'm going to make sure my kids love everybody. It's not about that, but it is. You don't have to like people, but you have that respect for them as another soul in the heart to say, I love you. I'm taking care of you in my mind. That's what the soul of Christ was all about for the most part. We have to hold our hearts steady as we bring through a vision of love, of prayer for all souls who are in that vision of Christ or of, well, it's Christ. That movement within, the love of soul, the love of loves, the freedom to say he is strong in the hearts and minds of so many souls. And his heart, it's his vibration. He's not in the body, but it would be felt as such from a different level. And so that's why we hear those souls who say, I'm connecting to my heart. We feel it as warmth in our chest. It is a physical sensation of love. So don't deny those souls that say, I know when I'm in my heart. There's a soul that knows that vision well. Okay. Others will say, well, you're a channel. You could get it from anywhere. The souls of souls know when to do that vision for us. I don't always have it there with me, but I do right now. So, with that in mind, I want to say thank you again for watching. Have a beautiful evening. For those of us that are still in the method of prayer or of honoring of those around us, all of us should be in the vision of grief. Very briefly, for the visions of those souls who, in their hearts, say, I'm not even going to watch that show because it's not worthy of my vision. I'm going to enforce the vision of love, of prayer. That's where a lot of people go. It's like the prayer books are opened up for all the visions of love, and we'll say thank you for the prayers. Your family and friends always hear those visions unless they are on a different plane. Okay? We assume everyone's in the same spot. That's not true. But they do mostly come through as our soul's vision. They're part of the soul. They're not the whole enchilada either. Okay? So honor your hearts and minds with a prayer for all of us. Love ourselves gently through this troubled time of worshiping our weapons more than the lives of those who have been killed at the hands of them, right? By the hands of others. Suicidal pacts are a different issue. We will address that at another point in time. So, with that in mind, I want to say good night. I don't feel like I should be honoring anyone's vision of victim at this point. That's what some people would say. We all are. We all are. For everything that happens on this globe is us. So take care and have a wonderful evening if you can. We have to set our agendas aside, place the love of ourselves first and foremost, and say thank you for showing me who we are. That's what Brenda does. To those souls who are doing those work, thank you for showing me who we are. So, with that in mind, good night.